Thank you, Count Corla. Well, Taoiseach, I too welcome that things aren't, as one previous speaker said, being played out on the streets of Northern Ireland in the way that they used to be. Unfortunately, the agreement that has been signed in Stormont is called a fresh start, but it isn't a fresh start for the ordinary people of Northern Ireland, because I think it's a continuation of the sectarian politics that's dominated the North for decades. And I think it's also an acceleration of austerity in the North, and this merits huge discussion and examination for people down the South as well. I think it's bad news, for example, for working class people, because there's an agreement to implement austerity and a range of cuts in welfare and other departments by the two big parties, and it's also a shifting of the economy more towards profit of multinationals, with a massive cut in corporation tax that's been argued for from the Northern Ireland Assembly. So just make some points on that, Taoiseach, for your comment. I think, first of all, in relation to the resignation of Peter Robinson, I think Mr Robinson is the example of the type of politician who has been part of the problem in Northern Ireland and not the solution. Somebody who's blocked marriage equality, most recently, and social progress, and colluded with other parties to prevent, for example, women having the right of control over their own bodies in relation to the 1967 Abortion Act not being extended to the North. But also somebody who has stoked up sectarianism, and not that long ago either, very recently in relation to the whole flags issue, and that's well documented. But actually other parties, key parties in the North as well, all of their space in one community and one community only. And politics is reduced to a sectarian headcount, and that still is the case. And I think it's a credit to ordinary working class people, Catholic and Protestant, who won't allow a going back to the troubles, to the past. I think it's worth noting that the trade union movement still is probably the only organisations now where Catholic and Protestants are still, organised together, because I would raise a warning: the troubles have gone, but unfortunately sectarianism hasn't gone away, and in fact there's been an increase in separation of the two communities, and I think that that's been also well documented when you go and visit the North. And I think we need a new generation of political representatives who will build unity among ordinary people, not sow and foment division. The other key element of the Stormont Agreement is the massive austerity programme that's been accepted by the parties in the North to be implemented, as well as the slashing of corporation tax. I think we'd have to say that this austerity programme, this agreement, represents a turning point, because lines have been crossed, including by Sinn Fein, who said that they wouldn't cross them, who said that they would protect core payments in social welfare. And I think it is a warning to those who are placing hopes in Sinn Féin in the South come the next election. The welfare cuts that have been agreed, and let's call them what they are, they're called cuts down here. We can't just call them reforms when it suits. The welfare cuts that have been agreed to be implemented will mean an estimated 20,000 job cuts in the public sector. It will also mean benefits will be cut, day centres, etc., will close. The cut in corporation tax means another massive handout to big business, while ordinary people experience cuts in their living standards. That's the reality of the agreement. And the cushion money that's been touted of $585 million over 4 years also has to cushion the effect of tax credits, defence and other areas. It isn't solely to protect people in terms of welfare cuts. The money will also last now for 4 years, whereas the last agreement it was for 6 years. In fact, there's less money cushioned in this agreement to bulwark against austerity than there was in the last one. Northern Ireland workers will also lose $110 million a year from the tax credits that are being introduced. So this fresh start, as you call it, includes recommendations for cost reduction targets in 9 departments. It includes the phrase structural reforms to take
Deputy,
place.
I have to ask you.
Just finishing now.
Yeah, thank you.
In education, health and justice. I mean, the structural reform is the troika language for major cuts. And what these cuts and reforms will mean is, as I said, serious services will have to close and benefits will have to be cut. We've already seen the Belfast A&E has closed in the north. There's a threat to the Matter A&E as well. Now, if you oppose austerity on principle, how can anyone go along with this agreement? Because if a struggle was waged against this agreement, it will get massive support in Northern Ireland society. We've already seen that in terms of the public sector and general strikes and other strikes that have taken place.
There are two other deputies
in the north against the Assembly and Westminster cuts. And I think we need, I'm finishing now, Kerlach, a new non-sectarian left party that will mobilise communities against these cuts and link up with workers in Britain who are fighting the Tory cuts as well.
Thank you. Taoiseach, very quickly.
Well,